2025 is nearly here, and for a game that was seemingly over and done with, Cyberpunk 2077 seems to be doing quite the opposite. And remember, we were already told early this month that Update 2.1 was to be the end of the updates, only to see Update 2.2 come onto the scene less than 2 weeks later, along with new features and more, which again is not what you'd expect from a game that was supposedly finished. Welcome to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and the past, present, and future of Cyberpunk are what we need to take a look at today, as seemingly every few days we see another headline from CD Projekt Red's groundbreaking ARPG. In case you're new here and you want to stay up to date on all things Cyberpunk, please consider hitting subscribe and ringing that notification bell so you never miss one of my future upload alerts. And let's now get into everything Cyberpunk. Update 2.2 released on December the 10th, ushering in new and unexpected features to the base game, and that entire sequence, the announcement, the live stream, even Virtuous Studios, was all kind of a massive shock to fans of Cyberpunk who had mostly moved on thinking it was already over. You see, Project Orion had been formally announced by CD Projekt Red on October 4th, and outside of small updates and fixes, most players did not expect 2077 to see the kind of post-sequel support it continues to receive, especially when Adam Kaczynski, CDPR's president and CEO, had already confirmed that the next 3 games in the developer's pipeline were all dedicated to the Witcher franchise, putting the current Cyberpunk and the upcoming sequel in a state of suspense but hopeful thoughts to the present and future. Though to be fair, with this centralized shift over to the Witcher, Cyberpunk 2, aka Project Orion, is still years away from release. For 2077, December saw Update 2.1 drop on December the 5th, ushering in features like a fully functional metro system, allowing players to enjoy an immersive and somewhat more leisurely and safe ride through Night City simply by walking up to an in-cart station and picking a destination. V also received a new radio port, so you could take your personal soundtrack on the go, and Hangouts with Partners was also added in, along with new vehicles like the Porsche 911, and of course, replayable races. All in all, it was a decent update to the game and felt like a gradual slowing of pace, especially after late September's colossal Phantom Liberty expansion drop, which I plan on going back in and giving it even another go because, at least for me, it just hits on so many levels. And all of this makes Update 2.2, which dropped on December the 10th, that much more dramatic because 2.2 had not only more features added to the game, but also a few surprises as well. Dubbed the Express Yourself update, 2.2 ushered in a ton of new character customization options, 116 to be exact, along with a new randomized lock feature to keep a certain aspect of a look once it was achieved while allowing the others to be randomized again, giving players the ability to roll and re-roll until they found that perfect look. But without a doubt, 2.2 focused in on vehicle customization and photo mode enhancements. Rayfield's Crystal Coat tech was expanded onto new manufacturers, while Twin Tone gave players the ability to simply scan vehicles they saw and wanted to copy, saving that specific paint job into a database, allowing for some really unique paint jobs to be found and archived. Crystal Coat changed the game when it came to encounters with the NCPD, and expanding it to include Herrera, Mizutani, Quadra, and Villefort was something we've been wanting, along with highly requested vehicles also being added to the game. Photo mode went through an extensive overhaul and widening of options such as a drone camera, freeing up players to snap some seriously cool angles and pics, and removing the old orbital camera around V. Collisions could now also be turned off. A multitude of lighting options were added in, along with up to 3 NPCs that could be spawned into your photos. Now, in combo with the new Smart Frame system, players could take their spaces to a whole new level by simply walking up to any of these frames and assigning one of their custom photos to it. And of course, More Johnny is never a bad thing, and his spawn rate was greatly increased, now to nearly 25%, allowing him to spawn in and around your character with greater frequency and responding to situations with his usual conversational flair. We needed to bring all this up and talk about it because, again, this sounds far from a game that is sunsetting and making way for new studio releases, especially when we factor in this last aspect. Because now we saw a new player enter the development scene, with Virtuous Studios announced as mainlining the work on these updates, with oversight coming from CDPR reps. Now again, this is a fascinating story within the story for a game that was supposedly done with updates to now appear less than 10 days later after its announced last update, now with even more features being added into the game. But we also learned the work was done completely by an outside studio contracted to do so by CDPR. Now, during this team's live stream reveal, it was also mentioned that there might be more updates to come, which we'll get into in a little bit. But looking back on it, from Phantom Liberty up until now, we've seen DLCs, updates, and additional features continually added to this incredible game, along with some hidden features as well, which is a trademark of CDPR. Now, anytime they update the game, there's always several new items added in for players to find and experience firsthand. For instance, Update 2.2 added in a new street race you can find down in Watson, a potentially wild NCPD experience to be found at Tom's Diner, especially if you've got an itchy trigger finger, and there was also a Balatro scavenger hunt quest quietly added in there as well. Now, no doubt, besides the continual improvements and enhancements that have been made to the base game, there's also a juggernaut of outside influence there to help, as the Edgerunners series did wonders for attracting new eyes to this IP. There's also been a recent announcement that Netflix will continue on with Cyberpunk via a new series, but it will likely be a new expansion to the universe, as Edgerunners Season 2 is not confirmed. There's also been official confirmation that a Cyberpunk 2077 live-action project is now planned, but won't release until 2025 at the earliest, a fact that Idris Elba, the voice of Solomon Reed, has expressed great interest in, even mentioning Keanu Reeves in his statements. To look at Cyberpunk and see just how well it continues to resonate with new and old fans alike, and to think it could be boosted to even greater heights if something like this live-action movie releases, is simply insane. And all for a game that has consistently stayed in the Steam top 100 sellers for 81 weeks straight, currently holding the number 8 and number 17 spots with the base game and Ultimate Edition. So, where does 2077 go from here? Well, for a game that went through a crushing opening act, resulting in mass refunds and PlayStation completely pulling it from sale on their platform, lawsuits and millions spent in post-release development and improvements, it doesn't seem like CDPR is quite ready to put in the towel just yet. Now, as mentioned before, 2077 is still doing exceedingly well on Steam, as the top 100 is based on dollars generated, not copies sold, so there's that. There's also the time gap up to the new release, which, as we know, is currently blocked by 3 upcoming Witcher titles, despite the announcements that Project Orion is in production, so it's very early on and still years away from a release. CDPR seems to want 2077 to bridge that gap, which is why they brought in Virtuous to continue to develop requested features and mechanics to the game. And we've also heard the developers state that there is more to come, especially when it comes to Virtuous. So with that, we should expect at least another update, if not more. There's always consistent informal polls of the community, also asking players what they want to see added into the game, and you don't do that unless you plan to make those changes. There are very few from the ashes, insane, mega turnaround stories when it comes to the gaming industry, with No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077 being the 2 most common. Now, the end product we have today is absolutely brilliant. What a turnaround. It's industry leading, and it's going to continue to stand the test of time for years to come, which it's going to need to do, especially with the present development cycles and release schedules. Now, I personally don't see another full-blown expansion arriving to this game, but one thing CDPR has proven to the world is that they are definitely unpredictable, continually updating and supporting a game they had previously stated was complete. Thanks for watching, and I always enjoy talking anything Cyberpunk related, so leave me a comment. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my future upload alerts. A massive thanks to all my channel subscribers, and until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.